But if you turn that failure into a fail forward of, well, this didn't work this time. I think you have to separate your identity from I failed, I'm a failure, to I failed, I can do better next time.
It's going to be a byproduct of aiming a little higher, little higher, little higher. We do not fail in life because we aim too high and we miss. We fail in life because we aim too low and we hit.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Decide and Design. I have two very special guests today. They're actually my first guests on Decide and Design. They have a global top 100 self-improvement podcast called Next Level University. They have over 630 episodes talking about leveling up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. They are my coaches, my mentors, my friends, and two guys that I consider the older brothers that I never had. So without further ado, Kevin, Palmieri, and Alan Lazaros, welcome to the show.
Thank you so very much for having them. Maybe the best intro we've ever had because you know all this. Appreciate you, brother.
I know all the things, man. All the good things. You
know all the things.
Just for my listeners, can you just give a little frame of how you guys got this whole podcasting started and what you guys are trying to do to serve the world?
Sure. So I guess the best way is Alan had a podcast called Conversations Change Lives.
Oh, yeah.
And I was lucky enough to be interviewed on Alan's show. And after that show, Alan went to the bathroom and our buddy Andrew was in the room. And I said, dude, imagine if you could do that for a living. And he's like, you can, right? Like Joe Rogan does it. And that was a paradigm shift for me because I'd never thought that. I didn't even really know what a podcast was. I dove into Joe Rogan. I ordered equipment. I think like 4 days later, I had the Hyperconscious podcast. Then Alan was my first guest. I think he was also my second guest. I think I ended up having him on 3 times. And I don't know, maybe like 8 or 9 months later, Alan and I partnered up. It was the Conversations Change Lives meets Hyperconscious podcast. That name was a little long. So we partnered up in the Hyperconscious podcast and we went full time. And then I think we were probably like 400 episodes in and we transferred over to Next Level U because nobody knows what hyperconscious means. And it wasn't helping us. It wasn't helping us. And I'll let Alan tell you about the goal and the brand and all that.
I appreciate that, man. First of all, Brandon, thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much for the kind words. This is a mini dream come true. I absolutely love it. There's a lot of things that I think, we've envisioned on this journey that we've designed. This is something that's just amazing and unexpected. So I absolutely love that. Regarding the NLU mission, so Next Level U, first and foremost, it's about putting self-improvement in the pocket of every single person every single day for free. We are now about to embark as of next Saturday on 7 episodes per week. And the idea really, Kevin and I both grew up without fathers. And we grew up in very challenging environments where there wasn't a ton of guidance. And I'm just going to be frank about that. And we believe that had we had us in our pockets and in our ears and in our minds and in our consciousness, I think our whole life could have been different. Now, that doesn't mean we regret the way our life turned out. I think statistically, Kevin and I are very, very blessed because statistically speaking, we've gotten a lot farther in life than what most people would have anticipated if they had seen where we started. So at the end of the day, we believe in people. We believe everyone wants to belong somewhere. And we believe in dreams and goals and visions. And if you're out there right now and you're listening, this podcast is called Decide and Design. Decide on the life you want and then design it. And that's absolute fire. And that's what we are all about at Next Level U as well.
And one thing that I feel like most people don't know, and Alan and I love saying this, is we have many, many women listeners. Most of our listeners are actually women. And I think it's because they are sick of the ego. They don't want to learn from people who are just ego all the time. And I feel like they have been hurt by men in their past. Mm-hmm. And they're looking for men out there who have vulnerability and are just good human beings. And that's genuinely what we're working on. We're working on our characters more than anything else. So when the results continue to come, we'll be able to sustain them and then share them with others.
Absolute fire. You guys always amaze me. this show, like Alan said, is all about designing a life around your purpose. And I always see a lot of people getting stuck at the find myself stage. And nobody really knows what that means because it's keeping them from taking action. So how do we actually find out where we're meant to be and what we are meant to do for the world?
I always go down this other sort of road here. So we're born into this world naked, scared, and ignorant, all of us. I often say that if Kevin and I were born in Shanghai, we'd speak Chinese. Since we were born in Uxbridge, Massachusetts, we speak English. So you're born with a pristine hard drive. You're born without any beliefs, really. You're born with only two fears, the fear of falling or the fear of loud noises. And so we're all kind of conditioned based on our environment. So you have your genetics, which is nature. You have what your upbringing is, which is nurture. And what I think everyone should understand about finding yourself is that that's an infinite game that never ends. I'm on chapter 32 of this life. I'm 32 years old, and I am more clear on who I am and who I aspire to be than I've ever been. But at 33, I'll be even more clear. 34, I'll be even more clear. I'm way more clear at 32 than I was at 16. So I think life is a constant dance between two extremes. One is you go and explore persons, places, things, and ideas. Explore, explore, explore. And then you refocus on who you are with that new awareness. And so everyone out there listening, think of a decision they made 4 or 5 years ago that was a terrible choice. Okay? You only know now that it was a terrible choice. Back then, you probably thought it was a good idea. Why? Because you didn't have the awareness to understand that. And so this whole finding yourself idea, it's like, well, I don't know what I want to do yet. Well, the only wrong answer is to not keep searching, to not keep exploring. We don't start out in life going, I know who I am. No, we go and explore, we try stuff, we fail forward, and we realize, oh, wow, I know who I am not. Dating is a great example. I'm now with the woman of my dreams, the love of my life, but I did a lot of dating and a lot of exploring, and I learned more about myself each time. I learned more about what I do and don't love each time. I learned more about what I do want and what I don't want each time. I learned more about my core values each time. So it's these tiny tweaks, these tiny iterations compounded over time, where eventually you get to the point where it's like, okay, life is a constant search. It's a constant progression of figuring out who I am and who I aspire to be and allowing that to evolve along the way.
I got to follow that up. I have to talk now. We'll see what we come up with. I genuinely believe that finding yourself is uncovering the stuff that's on top of who you really are. Alan mentioned conditioning. Finding yourself is unlearning all the things that you've been forced to learn that aren't true. I have several clients I'm working with right now who they have been convinced for their entire life that they can't be a certain way. Mm. So now that's not even an option. It's not even an option for one of them to be a successful speaker because they've been told they can't be, or to be a great mother because they've been told they're not that. This is what I always say. So Alan, for those of you who are listening that don't know us, Alan is always deeper understanding. I'm far more of a tactician. I love giving what to do. That's just always the way I've been. If you want to find yourself, number one, figure out what story you're telling yourself. Because just because it's normal to you doesn't mean it's normal, right? It's just normal to you. And then this is the tactic. Imagine this. I show up on your doorstep with a donut and $1 billion. And I say to you, Branden, here's $1 billion. Now, I want you to do whatever you want in your life, but it has to be in the service of others. And when you decide, I do not want you to do what you think you can do. I don't want you to do what you think is possible. I want you to do what you really want to do. So that audacious goal that you have that you don't believe you can do, what if that's what you really want to do? Episode 7 of this podcast, I said that I wanted this to be my life. I want to interview amazing people, go to the gym when I want, spend time with my friends when I want, right? And just get to live my life. And that's what I get to do. But I was audacious enough to say that. And now, look, I'm doing something with one of my best friends right now. 2 of my friends right now, I'm actually doing my job with. That never would have happened if I didn't set it as a goal. So have the audacity, that's a word, audacity to do something crazy. Try something crazy.
So everyone has their PMES. It's their physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. And a lot of times people who are emotionally driven, when we talk about following our heart, we disregard our M side of things. So when moving forward, when we make decisions, how can we involve our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual all in one? Because they all matter equally, I believe, in order to make a logical decision. So how can we involve all of those together when we make decisions?
I really appreciate you giving the PMES system a shout out. It's an unbelievable manifestation framework. And I think that all 4 facets are really critical. We often say that your level of personal development is how developed you are from 0 to 10 in each of those facets: physically developed, mentally developed, emotionally developed, and spiritually developed. So your imagination is the spiritual. So right now, I tell a story called Manifestation and the Purple Elephant. Okay, what does that mean? So right now I'm going to close my eyes and I'm imagining spiritual. I'm imagining a purple elephant with a cowboy hat on and a double barrel shotgun. Okay, I'm imagining that in my imagination. Now I'm going to emotionalize it. Okay, this is my purple elephant. This is my unique colors. It's purple and it's in a background. There's mountains in the background and they're in the desert. Okay. Now I'm going to mentally strategize. This is the strategy piece that you mentioned in the question. I'm going to get a crayon and I'm going to get a piece of paper and I'm going to start coloring this purple elephant. Now that's the physical action. I'm going to take action. So the strategy was I need crayon and I need paper. The action was actually drawing. And now the action piece, if I'm a terrible drawer, I'm not going to be able to manifest the exact one I'm imagining. So everything in life is like that. We've all probably fallen in love to some extent. Another example I like to give about this. When you first fall in love, you go on a first date and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then you start to imagine marrying this person. You start to imagine meeting their parents. You start to imagine them meeting your parents. Maybe that scares you. I'm not sure. You start to imagine living together. You start to imagine having kids with them and having pets. And you start to imagine. But if you don't take it to that next step of emotionalizing it and then strategizing about how to actually co-create it and then taking action consistently towards that, it won't actually just happen. It won't just work out. But we all have done that imagination process when it comes to falling in love. What I ask my students, my clients, people in speeches, audiences is, why aren't we doing that more with our career? See, we all related to that story of falling in love and imagining our own wedding. We've all done that. We've all imagined our own wedding. Okay. But why aren't we imagining the career we want? Why aren't we imagining the life we want? Why aren't we designing it all? Again, decide and design. And I actually talked to you about this, Branden, a couple nights ago. And this is what I'll end on. PMES, all of them are necessary. If you imagine without believing it, or without strategizing, or without taking action, it's going to stay in your imagination. And picture doing a puzzle, and I've seen the front cover, but Branden has not. See, I'm going to try to put puzzle pieces down because I'm going to put the border together, and I'm going to put the puzzle pieces down accurately. Branden's going to have trouble because you never saw the vision. You never saw the front cover. So it's going to take you way longer than me to put the puzzle together. And by the way, the puzzle pieces are your daily actions. And so to answer your original question, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, you have to identify which one's your bottleneck. And if you are emotionally driven, most likely the strategy piece, aka the reverse engineering of the finish line, is not natural. And the very last thing I'll say is this. Imagine saying, hey, I want to build the best phone in the world. And then you go out in a field and start laying bricks. See, we say we want these things, but then we go take actions that have nothing to do with them. A lot of people design their vacations more than they design their own life. And I know that this podcast is going to help people strategize much more.
We had somebody in group coaching who said, sometimes I just don't feel smart enough. And I said, I mean this with all the love in the world, but it's my job to challenge you. What if you're not smart enough yet? Like, you're smart enough to get to where you've gotten to. But I have told Alan, I don't know how many times, 10 times, like, I'm just not smart enough yet. I'm not intellectual enough to hang in the rooms that we're in. I have to level that up. So I think it's specific learning. If you want to use all of them, you have to hone all of them. And the first step from my perspective is something I was guilty of. You have to value that. So imagine this, if you're emotionally driven, you might think like this strategy thing, this person always wondering where their time is going, they're living on a to-do list, like that ain't for me. If you're super strategic, going with the flow, stopping and smelling the flowers, probably not for you, right? I think it starts with valuing what you're not. Spirituality, what does that actually mean? We talk a lot about the law of attraction, right? And making sure that we're being good human beings and understanding that we're attracting who we are into our life. Like that's valuable. I thought that was woo-woo for the most of my life. I've always been emotionally driven, so the E part has been pretty easy for me. But I always tell my clients, the thing that you're weak in, you have to learn. I have read so many books on how to be smarter. I'm reading a book Alan recommended called Algorithms to Live By. It's boring. It's about math. It's about probability, but it's raising my ability to strategize. But I've also read The Four Tendencies, which is all emotional. I've read Mindset by Carol Dweck, which is all emotional. The Seven Spiritual Laws, which is spiritual. So I think it's really getting specific with your learning and say like, why am I going to buy this book? Because I want to strengthen my spiritual muscle, my intellectual muscle, my emotional muscle. Getting specific when it comes to learning, I think is super, super valuable.
Yeah, I can resonate a lot with that. That's something that I have really had to lean into, and mostly from the advice from Kevin, because he's had to grow so much in order to become the person he is today. So I resonate with that a lot. That's something that's on my peak performance tracking as well, as, you know, learning every single day. And obviously I've been learning from you guys and the team a lot too.
Did you value So strategy, did you value strategy at the beginning of this journey? Like, what were your thoughts about strategy?
I'm still figuring it out, man. Like strategy is still something that I'm learning to do. Like I told Alan the other day, I can see myself in the future. I have a hard time reverse engineering it. And that's all strategy. So I think I'm now just getting into like the strategy part. Like obviously we've gone over some tactics and some things to do here and there, but I don't know if I've intentionally thought about how to reverse engineer my success. That's something that's just so unnatural to me.
Branden, if any of your listeners feel that way, I just want to chime in here real quick. With the right coach, you will be unstoppable. Because if that's the only piece you're missing, but you can take action consistently and you can imagine, and you're vulnerable and honest with yourself and you don't have an ego, you're emotionally intelligent. If you're just missing strategy, dude, hire a strategist. Hire an M and you're good to go, man. And that's why you and I coach Branden, you're going to be great. Because that, I can tell that's the one piece you're missing. And you're not trying to pretend you have it. Most people try to pretend they have that, especially when they're around me, if I'm honest. And so the fact that you kind of understand I don't have that naturally, it doesn't mean you can't develop it, but getting around someone who does have it naturally will change the game for you.
That's a perfect lead way into my next question. So I hear a lot about, like high level entrepreneurs and businessmen, you hear them talk about being born an entrepreneur. How do you know if you have entrepreneurial DNA, or from your perspective, is that something that can be developed?
That's a fire question. I've said this many times. If I knew what being an entrepreneur was going to take, I probably wouldn't have done it. The only reason I did is because I had a brush with suicide. And for the first time in my life, I found like I felt like I found my purpose. So this is what I always say. We talk about the 6 basic human needs by Tony Robbins. I won't go through all of those, but one of them is certainty. Okay. If you're somebody who is very, very certainty driven, you need to know how much money is in your bank account. You need to know how today is going to go, tomorrow is going to go. You need to know that the floor under you is stable in order to take action. Being an entrepreneur can be very, very difficult because it is one of the most uncertain journeys on the face of the earth. Now, I'm not trying to stop anybody from doing it, but I don't necessarily believe you're born one or not, but I do believe your risk tolerance determines how far you'll make it. As an entrepreneur, that's something you can learn for sure. My risk tolerance has gone way up, but it also has been way harder. I don't want to say harder. My journey has been way different than Alan's in a lot of different ways because he's way less certainty driven than I am. So I would check in with that before you get the journey started. And then part 2, right now, and Gary Vee talks about this, being an entrepreneur is sexy. Like, it looks cool to take a picture working on your laptop from the beach, right? That looks cool. Why do you actually want to be an entrepreneur? Is it because you value movement and freedom more than anything? You want to be your own boss? Cool. Is it because you think it looks cool? That's a different story. So I would say check in with your why before you get started.
My response to that, Branden, would be, I think that we are all born with certain natural inclinations. I do believe that most things can be learned, but I think that when you find your genius zone, and I do believe everyone has a genius zone. So my assistant, Amy, is the sweetest person in the entire world. She's so warm and so loving and so kind. She doesn't have a mean bone in her body. I could spend the rest of my life trying to be as warm, loving, and sweet as Amy. And I don't consider myself not loving and sweet, but that is her genius zone. Part of the reason why I felt so congruent with her as my assistant is because she's so welcoming and warm. Everybody loves Amy. Everybody who tries to get a hold of me loves talking to Amy. Honestly, I think they love talking to Amy more than talking to me, which is wonderful. But at the same time, what I need to understand about myself, and for your listeners, what they need to understand about themselves, is that you have a genius zone too, but it might not be that. My genius zone is reverse engineering finish lines. My genius zone is sweat equity, due diligence, self-discipline, being intense and being vision-oriented and aspiring to greater. And so my main focus in this life is to maximize my own potential and to help others do the same so that we can all contribute more. I think that that's my sweet spot. I think I was born and bred for that. And I think that when it comes to your original question about being an entrepreneur, I think anyone can be an entrepreneur, but what level of entrepreneur you're going to be is completely unique to you. And again, you're going to have to soul search and you're going to have to figure out. And here's what I do know through coaching so many clients. Some clients say, I want to be Tony Robbins. And then they realize later, you know what? No, I don't, because I don't want to, I don't want to work every weekend for the next 25 years. Right. So you're kind of going to figure out more of who you are. I think that entrepreneurship specifically is going to teach you more about yourself than anything else. And I think you'll find out very quickly whether or not you are an entrepreneur or really want to be. I think, again, like Kevin said, it's sexy, but you don't necessarily know what comes with it until you try it. Very last thing I'll say is this. Wanting a result without wanting the process is like wanting to win 26 gold medals like Michael Phelps, but not wanting to swim. There's no way to have both. And I think that it would be delusional to try to tell anyone otherwise. You got to look behind the curtain. That's what we do on our show. Like, listen, this is not all roses. 7 episodes a week sounds cool, but when Kevin and I have to drive to the studio on a whim because David Meltzer calls us and says there was a cancellation and he has to not go on a date with his girlfriend because of it, and we have to be there and then Jeff it, for your listeners, by the way, means we make mistakes, fail forward, and then feel bad about it. Like, see, do you understand what that takes, right? And I just, that's all I would say is definitely give it a shot. I think that you can learn how to be an entrepreneur, but there's no safety net anymore. There's no ceiling either. You can climb as high as you want, but there's no safety net. There's no pension. There's no 401k. There's no, it's all up to you. It's all on you as an entrepreneur. And if you can handle that, I think that's great.
And you only see the successful ones too.
Yeah.
Kind of in a way of like the Gary V's, the Grants, the Dave Meltzers, those people, like you're seeing the best of the best of the best. You're not seeing the minor league entrepreneurs who are like trying to figure it out. And that's one of the things that I love about us and our community is we talk about how we're failing all the time. Like, yeah, we're successful, the most successful we've been, but we still have a long way to go and we're learning lessons about everything. And I think that it's nice to be able to take people on the ride of like, this is what to expect. We try, again, we pride ourselves on being heart-driven, but no BS. We're heart-driven. We love everybody, right? Everybody we love, and we want to be kind and we want to be understanding and patient, but we also want to be real. Like, this is what it really takes, not what you see, when somebody's trying to sell you a course. Like, it's not how to grow your entrepreneurial business to 6 figures in a month. It doesn't work. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. I wish it did.
Yeah, we all wish it worked that way, right?
6-minute ad.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, one of the biggest issues for our listeners that we've seen is not everybody has people in their corner trying to lift them to the next level. And even the people who are trying to help don't always know how.
That's why Kevin and I created Next Level Group Coaching. It's a 3-month program on teams of 10 with all people committed to achieving their goals. Click the link in the show notes for more information.
And we only take 10 people at a time, so make sure you get in quick.
Tony Robbins' number one key to your success is hunger.
Mm-hmm.
I believe our hunger comes from our past pain and trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Why do some people have that mastery mindset and drive while others break and fold?
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably the this I have tattooed on my arm, never quit. I think hunger. Eminem has a great line in one of his songs, full of myself, but still hungry. A nice little play on words, something I appreciate very much. I think hunger does come from your past and your failures and your pain, but I think what keeps you hungry is setting that as a course of your future. So if you want to be more than you are, you have to set a goal greater than you are. It's having a giant goal. We have to be hungry if we want our goals. Like, we want to literally make personal development, self-improvement so sustainable that anybody in the world can have it on their cell phone 7 days a week for free. Like, everybody in the world. The chances of that happening are slim to none. So we're going to be on the pursuit of that forever. So we have to be hungry when it comes to that. I think most people, when it comes to the hunger aspect, I think they just are afraid to set big goals because they don't believe that they can get there. I think the biggest difference between somebody who folds and cracks and somebody who keeps going is resilience. I think the crap that you go through when you're a kid, if you've gone through tough stuff, Alan and I had somewhat difficult childhoods, I think that prepared us for this journey. And I think you can learn it, but you got to get rid of the ego, first of all. And you have to understand and adopt a fail forward mentality. Branden, you can speak to this. We literally talk and joke about how much we fail on the team. If you think failure is the end of the road, you're going to crack. And it's going to be like, oh, I suck. I can't do this. But if you turn that failure into a fail forward of, well, this didn't work this time. I think you have to separate your identity from I failed, I'm a failure, to I failed, I can do better next time. For me, that's what's kept me in this game because I've had a lot of self-doubt. I would give that advice for sure.
T-Rob said that the number one key to success is hunger. And I agree with him 1000%. I do consider myself someone who's always been extremely motivated and driven. And I do believe, like what you said, a lot of our drive comes from our deepest pain. But I think it's more than that too. So all of us have different parts of ourselves, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. I think there's a part of each of us that knows what we're capable of. And I think that it gets covered up by mud. So picture like a really bright light that has, let's do this. There's a bright light underneath a glass of water, and the glass of water is muddy. It's got a bunch of mud in it. It's muddy water. Now you take clear water and you dump it into the glass, and it starts to overflow, and it gets less and less muddy, less and less muddy, less and less muddy, more and more clear. The light starts to shine brighter and brighter and brighter. I think that's how human beings work. I think that when we're born, we're already great. And I think we are conditioned to stay small, and we're conditioned to not believe in ourselves. And whether it's failure, whether it's people who didn't believe in you, whether it's trauma, whether it's emotional, physical, or sexual abuse, whatever it is, we all go through stuff, but it really comes down to this one critical factor. Of all the people I've studied, all the interviews we've done, all the clients we've had, whether or not you clear that glass of water is going to be predicated on self-belief. If you do not have self-belief, you will take the mud and just stay in the mud because you don't believe you can get out of the mud. If bad things happen and you do have self-belief, you will change, you will grow, you will adapt. See, we all go through adversity. No one listening, no one here has no adversity. No one has a perfect life. No one has everything going well all the time. Nobody. And even if you did, that would be your adversity. You can't relate to anyone else because everything's perfect. So there's no such thing as a life without adversity. Here's the key. If you have adversity and you have self-belief, the adversity becomes your advantage, because that's when you innovate. That's when you get new distinctions. That's when you get new lessons. That's when you build emotional resilience. That's when you imagine a brighter future. That's when you build to something. That's when you get more motivated, more hunger. But if you don't have self-belief and bad things happen and you don't believe you can do anything about it, what you'll do is escape into vice. You'll turn to drugs. You'll turn to alcohol. You'll turn to Netflix. You'll turn to Instagram land. You'll turn to things that are quick and easy to try to fill that void of whatever that emotional trauma was. So where does hunger come from? Hunger comes from trauma. But if you don't have self-belief, you can get very, very stuck. And then you'll end up attracting other people who are also stuck. And then you'll live in an echo chamber thinking that life is about being stuck and that there is no other option. And I've been in both worlds. I've been in the virtuous world of aspiration and hope and meaning and purpose and love and joy. And I used to have an alcohol problem where I would drink often, too much and too often. And I was escaping into vice. And the reason I was doing it was to fit in with people who didn't believe in themselves. And so that's a different issue. But if you're out there listening right now, if you don't feel like your adversity has been your advantage up to this point, you can shift that. And here's how you do it. You learn how to build self-belief. And building self-belief starts with building self-confidence. Check in with your confidence. How confident are you in your own abilities? 0 to 10. If you're at a 2, that's fine. How can I get to 3? Okay. How can I get to 4? I'm going to go talk to a stranger. Oh, okay. 5. I'm going to try this thing. Oh, crap. Back to 4. I'm going to go talk to that stranger again. Oh, back to 5. Start small. Keep the promises you make to yourself. Keep moving forward, one foot in front of the other, and keep proving to yourself that you're capable. And eventually that'll snowball. You'll gain momentum. And then after that, once you have momentum, it's going to be very hard to stop you.
Can I just add to that, B? So Alan is talking about self-belief. Him and I have we've driven to the center believing that's one of the most important things, because I've genuinely always thought that. What Alan's talking about is something we call the confidence conundrum. So Amy is the best example of this. Amy gets so many shout outs on the podcast because she is a walking example of this. So imagine this. Amy messages me and says, "Hey, Kev, I am terrified to approach strangers. What do I do?" I said, "Amy, let's go to the mall. Let's just go to the mall. You and I will approach some strangers. I'll do it with you so you're not afraid. What's the worst that could happen?" Now, bear in mind, I'm terrified to do this, just as scared as she is. So I show up to the mall. I texted Alan before saying, "Yo, I hope she cancels because I don't want to do this because I'm also terrified."
Can I tell her all 4 of my tires popped?
Right. What excuses can I make up that are believable, but also stop me from going? So I show up. First time I ever met Amy, gave her a big hug. She's the sweetest. We go to Starbucks. I call this an anxiety coffee. It's like, I need to buy some time here. Let me get some coffee. So we go into a store and we ask the person behind the desk about a chair. I said, "Amy, go ask them about this chair. Ask them how much it costs. They're going to try to sell you. This is going to be perfectly fine." She does it. A little bit of confidence. We go to another store. Ask them about this. A little bit of confidence. We go to one more store. Ask them about this. A little bit of confidence. We go to the food court. She starts talking to people. We're walking down the escalator. She starts talking to people. She's just having conversation. She feels good. We're getting ready to leave the mall, and there's these mechanical zoo animals. There's like a pen of them, and you can rent them. And we walk by those, and I said, "Amy, what would be really good if we rode those?" And I was totally kidding. And she said, "All right, Kev, let's do it." And I was like, "Oh, no. So we rent these mechanical zoo animals, and we're riding them around the mall. And Amy went from not being able to talk to strangers, and this is all in 3 hours, to riding around the mall with no fear of judgment, having the time of her life. Now, what actually happened? So we have something we call the confidence conundrum. Before this interview, Branden, you had no idea how this was going to turn out. You hoped it would turn out well. So you had uncertainty. Uncertainty of results creates lack of action. Lack of action creates no results. No results creates proof that you're not good enough to interview us. Okay. Amy, that was her life. Lack of action, talking to strangers, right? Lack of results, which proved that I can't do this. All I did, instill a little belief. We didn't know what was going to happen. I just made Amy understand and realize that even if it goes horribly wrong, we're going to do it together. So we always have uncertainty of results, always. But Amy took action. And when she took action, she got new results. And that new result was proof that she could do it. Now she's running that. So belief is the most important thing. Genuinely. Find somebody in your life who believes in themselves as much as you want to believe in yourself and get around them. Find an accountability partner. If this episode motivated you, go do something different. Reach out to me on Instagram at NeverQuitKid. Reach out to Alan. Send a video. Send an audio. Do something that scares you. Use the motivation. Use the emotion for your benefit. And I guarantee it could be the pivot point. It could be the catalyst to you getting more confident.
Man, you guys are getting me jacked up over here. I'm like on the edge of my seat. Are you guys good on time? You got time for two more?
Yeah, man. Let's rock.
Hammer 'em.
Perfect. I heard, I don't want to say it was Evan Carmichael. I believe it was, though. I heard him say, some people want to serve the world. Others want to serve the 25 closest people around them. It doesn't matter which one you choose, but it's very important that you choose one of them. Do you guys believe that striving for the 1% of the 1% is what everyone should be striving for, or is there a fine balance?
We've been having some identity issues with this, so this could be an interesting one. I think Evan Carmichael is 100% right, and here is the reason why. I had a friend so Alan and I want to inspire, impact. We want to touch the lives of it. I say at least 1 billion people. That's what I write. At least 1 billion people. I had a friend of mine reach out to me one time and say, Kev, I just want to know, can you be the friend you used to be for me? And I said, unfortunately, no, I cannot. I have a business. At this point, this is what I said to him, because he gave me a little bit of attitude. He sassed me a little bit and said, like, that's not cool. Like, I don't understand why you're like that. And I said, honestly, I'm not saying this from an ego place, but I want you to know what I'm really going through. I have clients. I have a relationship. I have a business. I'm doing 6 episodes a week. I'm broke. I don't have any time. I go to the gym 6 times a week. I'm not sleeping 6 hours a night. I have all this going on. The reason I'm doing this is because I'm trying to change the world. I had to trade in the 25 people closest to me, in some way, shape, or form. When I say trade in, I've had to limit time. All of my time, and B, you know this, all of my time, even more of Alan's time, goes to this journey. So if I pick the 25 closest people to me, I could give them 100%. I could give them 100%. I picked 1 billion people, and I'm giving that 100%. I'm not saying you have to get rid of people in your life, but I do believe that you do have to choose, and you have to prioritize one, right? You have to prioritize the mission or the people in your life. Now, luckily, you can combine them, right? Alan is my best friend at this point, right? And we're on this mission together. Branden, you're a friend of ours now, and you're on this mission with us. So you can combine it, but I think you do have to choose. And I think you have to understand that in a weird way, if you choose the world, those 25 people, unless you're very blessed, which Alan and I are in some regards, those 25 people aren't going to understand why the hell you're doing what you're doing. But you got to know you made the right choice. That's all that matters at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. I think the again, deeper understanding that I would give here is that, yes, I agree with Evan Carmichael in the way that he described it, but I would add something to it. The 25 people closest to you or the world, there's a whole lot of levels in between. And I think that what everybody should be trying to do in their own unique flavor is maximize their own personal growth and their own contribution in their own unique genius zone. And I know that sounds like a heavy thing, but that's what life's about, I believe. And we interviewed, thanks to you, Branden, Stephen Kotler. He wrote a book called The Art of Impossible. And he basically breaks down the neuroscience as to why staying small is actually bad for us biologically. There's 8 major causes of depression. one is genetics, one is trauma, and then the other 6 are actually byproducts of staying small. So all I would say to anyone listening is I'm not asking you to change the world. I'm not asking you to do anything other than shoot a little higher than you're shooting right now. Because that's going to force you to grow. And when you grow, you're going to contribute more. And when you contribute more, you're going to want to grow more. And when you grow more, you're going to want to contribute more. And it's going to create momentum. You're going to have self-belief. You're going to have self-discipline. You're going to have self-love. You're going to have self-respect. You're going to have self-esteem. You're going to have all the virtues that we all crave. But it's going to be a byproduct of aiming a little higher, little higher, little higher. We do not fail in life because we aim too high and we miss. We fail in life because we aim too low and we hit. Branden, you've told me a lot about your past. I'm sure your listeners know this because you've told your story. When you were the most miserable, it's when you weren't growing and you weren't contributing. So anyone out there listening, I'm not saying to go change the world. I'm saying shoot a little higher than you've been shooting, grow a little more than you've been growing, contribute a little more than you've been contributing, and keep that train rolling forever. And you'll be amazed at how far that takes you.
Forever.
Sandlot reference.
One of my favorite movies. I didn't know if you guys knew that.
You're killing me, Smalls.
Last question for you guys. I want you guys to put yourself 50 years into the future. What is the legacy of Next Level University?
You got to end with the hard one. The legacy. I'm going to let you go because I struggle with understanding legacy, genuinely. So you go and I'll tell you what I think at the end.
Appreciate the honesty. Branden, we already told you to put self-improvement in the pocket of every person every day for free from anywhere on the planet. We're playing that forever. The legacy of Next Level University is equal opportunity. In this country, we talked about equal opportunity a lot when I was growing up. And fortunately, I got financial aid. Fortunately, I got scholarships. Fortunately, I got free lunch when my stepdad left and we had no money. And luckily, I got to go to some of the best schools in the world. Next Level University. Next Level U. We want to teach people about health, wealth, and love, the things we never learned in school but desperately need to know. And we want to do it for free for everybody. We can talk about equal opportunity all day, but there's someone in the slums right now who doesn't have access to an education. And they could be smarter than me and better than me, and no one would ever know it because they didn't have the opportunities that I had. Unacceptable. That's our legacy.
I go, and I love that, absolutely. Alan's always been super, super heavy on the education and understanding the importance of it. I don't know. For some reason, it makes me a little emotional. I think that if Alan and I, God forbid, were on a plane to a speech and the plane went down and we perished in that thing, I would want people to say that we were good people. That's what I'm playing. I'm playing for a lot of things, but I just want to be a good man. I want to be a good man to my friends, to my family, to you, to Alan. I don't ever want a listener to meet me and say he honestly sucked. He wasn't the person I thought. I want to be relatable. I want to give people hope. I want when I go, I want people to say that was a good man. That was it. He was just a good man. He didn't want anything from me. He never, and I lose my temper. I'm not perfect. Right. But I just want to be good. I want to be a good man who leaves a good mark on this earth and inspires people to be good people too. Because I think one of the things that we have the pleasure of knowing people at the deepest level, at the depths of their soul, of their deepest pains and their happiest pleasures. And one of the things that always jumps off the page is every single person I've ever met had somebody do something terrible to them. Almost every single one. And that's one of the things we're trying to put a stop to. Why do women listen to us? Because men have hurt them in a lot of cases. And I don't ever want to do that. I want to be a shining example of what a man can be. Vulnerable, strong, intelligent, humble, right? I'm playing for that. I'm playing so I can get the good man trophy when I show up at Heaven's Gates. He's a good man.
And honestly, if we weren't both playing that game, we wouldn't be partners. We wouldn't be business partners. We say character over everything, integrity over everything. We literally have a filter for who we'll have on our show. The first one says character over everything. The second one says no ego. The third one says expertise relevant to our ICA. and it's, and this will be the last thing that I'll personally say, because I know we got to go here. But I second what Kevin said too, because yeah, the mission is the global thing that I mentioned. But I think the unique mission is also what he said, and they're one and the same. That's the coolest part. Because in order to do that, we have to become this. And my girlfriend recently texted me a very simple line. It said, "Alan, you are the greatest man that I've ever known." And the reason why that meant so much to me isn't just because this is the woman of my dreams, but it's also because she's the closest to the truth. She knows more about me than any other person on this planet. And she believes that I'm the greatest man she's ever met. And she's been very hurt by ego. She's been very hurt by men in the past. And to me, I love the accolades. I love the trophies. I love the applause. I'm not going to pretend I don't. But that's not really why I'm playing. I'm playing for that. That text means that I've achieved. That text means I'm successful. That's what matters to me more than anything else. And so yes, we want to change the world, and we intend to. And we already are in some unique ways, which is great. But that is what we're really playing for. The person who's closest to us, the people on the team, like Kevin mentioned, it's character over everything. It's being the best we can be. Next level you. Next level you. And whatever that uniquely is to you. And it is. It's character over everything. It always has been, honestly.
Yeah, in the beginning, character over money for a long time.
Yeah, and careful.
but this is the last thing. I always have to get the last thing, Brandon, because he says it's the last thing, and then I have to do the last thing. I might try to do the last thing. Understand this. At the end of the day, all you have is who you are. That's it. Like, that's really all you have in the beginning. Alan and I, and this was without ego, we would be way more successful, quote unquote, if we cut the corners. And we've had opportunities to trade in pieces of our soul along the way. Like, that's just not what we're playing for. So make sure that you stay authentic to you if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, because not only can you be successful, you'll be more successful, and you'll be fulfilled and not regret the fact that you traded in or sold out to get there. Like, just make sure you do it the way you want to do it, because when you get there, it'll feel better. And I'll end on that.
Amen, brother.
When I first met you guys, it was an interview to join the Next Level University team, and you guys straight up asked me, like, "Branden, what are your skills? What do you got for us?" And I was like, "Nothing." But I'm willing to work. And you guys, you literally believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. And that just shows who you guys are as people. And I can't thank you guys enough for everything that you've done for me the past year. I mean, it's truly amazing.
We appreciate you. B, I told you this. I see you. I see me and you. Like, that's what I'm playing for. You know, like, that's what I'm playing for. Alan saw something in me. Like, if Alan didn't see something in me, I wouldn't be here. I see something in you. We see something in everybody. You know, we see something in people that they don't see in themselves, and they've been convinced that they don't have. So it's genuinely at this point our responsibility to make sure that we try to highlight it. So I'm so grateful you feel that way. Again, that's what we're playing for.
Branden, the no ego.
Yeah.
You didn't try to pretend that you're something you're not. And to me, that I don't have any skills, but I can work hard, I'd take that over talent any day of the week. And I've found that more and more and more. I will take someone who's willing to work hard and who's humble and who's eager to learn over talent any day of the week. And we've had both, and the people with talent don't stay if they're not humble. And so remember, it was you. Yeah, we believed in you, but like, you could have puffer fished. You could have pretended, "Oh, I'm amazing at this and this and this and this." And dude, honestly, that wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked. We would have sniffed that out, that we've had too many people hoodwink us with what's not real. And so good for you, man, for staying vulnerable and truthful with yourself, being honest with yourself.
Absolutely. All the love, guys. Where can people find you?
That's a great question. It's a great question. I say Next Level University. We're on all the podcast platforms, YouTube. I am at Never Quit Kid on Instagram. I challenge you to send me an audio or a video, especially if it scares you. And then nextleveluniverse.com lazaros.com is our website. Speak about yourself.
Instagram is the best way to reach me at Lazaros88, ALAZAROS88. That's the year I was born, 1988.
Congratulations.
32 years old.
Yes, you are.
And yeah, reach out on Instagram. You can Google my name, Alan Lazaros. You can go to Next Level University. No, Next Level Universe.
So close.
I know, so close. nextleveluniverse.com. Brandon, hopefully you'll put all this in the show notes to make it easy for everybody. But if you want to get to the next level, we're your guys. That's it.
Well said.
Heck yeah. Thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it.
We appreciate you, brother. Make sure you follow Brandon. Brandon's a coach too. He's next level.
Great dude.
Great dude.
Everybody
All
says
the love.
that.
All the love.
Thank you so much. Great questions, by the way.
Yes, very
Strong
good.
work.
Thank you.